month-long speaker series on Monday nights, 7 o'clock here at this beautiful facility of the Town Hall Community Room. And tonight we're really pleased to have Jamie Rogers here from Adirondack Garden Country Association, who's going to talk to us about energy efficiency programs offered by the NYSERDA that ANCA is helping to facilitate happening in the Adirondacks. I find it really interesting. And next week we're going to have Steve Engelhardt from Adirondack Architectural Heritage with us about restoring historic buildings and how that can help with revitalization. Then Tim Fortune from Saranac Lake will be here, an artist himself who has been involved in the whole history of engaging artists and cultural events in Saranac Lake. And then we'll finish off with Callie Brooks last Monday with Adirondack Community Trust, which is an incredible foundation that helps all kinds of not-for-profits and special causes in the Adirondacks. So anyway, we're really excited about this series. Glad you could be here, and we're so excited to kick it off here with Jamie Rogers. So we'll let Jamie take it.
Thank you, Betsy. And I would encourage the community to come out and participate in your other forums. You've got a great group of speakers coming. I've worked with all of them and continue to work with some of them. As Betsy said, my name is Jamie Rogers, and I have the privilege of working for the Adirondack North Country Association, commonly known as ANCA. ANCA was formed about 1955 and has been serving the 14 northern counties of New York State since then. But the program that I'm associated with is called the Green Jobs, Green New York program that is sponsored by NYSERDA, as you can see over here. That's the New York State Energy Research Development Authority. And ANCA at the beginning of this year became the independent contractor to NYSERDA for the Green Jobs, Green New York program. So in the Green Jobs, Green New York program, we serve the 10 northern counties of the state. And our role in this is to go out and promote customer awareness, and also help once people enroll in the application process to assist them in getting through the application with the information they need. And I'm going to talk quite a bit about that tonight. There's also, I know tonight's focus is primarily on residential, but I also want to point out that the Green Jobs, Green New York focuses in 4 areas. It's the multifamily, the small commercial not-for-profit, where a business has 10 employees or less. It's the residential, and it's also the workforce development. And I'll show you a little bit later in the program about the workforce development side. But if you have any, want any interest or need more information in any of those other 3 programs that I'm not speaking tonight, by all means, please use the number at the bottom of the slide. So we always say opportunity is knocking. Green Jobs, Green New York is providing funding for energy assessments, and they're also providing a really good low-cost program for financing some of the upgrades that may be identified in this process. Our job as a CBO is to work with neighborhoods, residents, individuals, communities, whatever it takes to get this program out there to the people across the 10 northern counties. So what do we start with? And who can be in the program? The Home Performance with Energy Star is for anybody across the entire New York State. It must be a 1 to 4 residential unit. If you're over 4, you're going into the multifamily program. And we've given you a couple examples here. Doesn't matter what you heat with. In many of the cases up here, some of our residents fall under the etc. We call that wood. And we run into that quite a bit. And you're still eligible for the program. And who do you fit? It's kind of depressing to think that, we've just got done experiencing some warm weather and we have to look back at icicles just about hitting the ground from our homes. But a very familiar scene across the entire state. And if you happen to have a house like this or some of the issues that are listed in this slide, like humidity problems, missing insulation, old or aging heating equipment or water systems, you're eligible for the program. You're a perfect candidate. So as I said, the 1 to 4. And to make this a little bit simpler for you, the Green Jobs, Green New York program works in the Home Performance with Energy Star. But as you see, and that's on the right-hand side, there's also, based on income level, another part of this program that's called Assisted Home Performance with Energy Star. And at the very end, weatherization programs that run through the county, and Empower that's run across the state through NYSERDA as well. We don't do the weatherization programs or Empower, but I do have the applications available. And I'll talk a little bit about it in this presentation. So how do I qualify? I'm interested in getting into the program. So the first thing, if you look at the 200% average median income across New York State, so we are now in Essex County, $120,200. If you earn less than that, you qualify for the free energy assessment. If you earn over it, just between the 120 and 150, out of the $250 that will be paid to the contractor, you will be responsible for 50. But basically, about 95% of the people across the state qualify for a free energy audit. So don't get confused by the $60,000, just focus on the 120 or lower. Now, if you happen to be a household of 1 or 2 or whatever number you have that you can see on the screen here, let's say you're a household of 2, and your income is at $44,545 or below, you qualify for the Assisted Home Performance with Energy Star program. If you're between that 34 and the 60 that I had on the last slide, you're going into home performance. If you're in Essex County and you go all the way to the bottom of the slide I have here and you earn $25,548 or less, you're going to qualify for the Empower program. So that determines what program you get in. So where do we start? It's pretty simple. It's this one single page application. Name, address, phone, the building type, above grade condition square footage, and you don't have to know the exact number. You can take a guesstimate. We'll help you with that. How you heard about the program, of course, that's myself and the Adirondack North Country Association, and we hope you check that on your application. We have some in the back. You can check the project finance preference. It doesn't mean you're locked into it, and you give a basic estimate of your household income range. And then the other thing that's really important to remember here is the energy supplier information. When you mail this application in, you're going to be required to put 12 months worth of all your utility, your gas, your fuel oil, whatever the energy consumption that your house is using. And if it's wood, you give a guesstimate of how many full cords you burn, and the dollar amount you put for that will be $300 a cord. And that basically is so that the people reviewing the application can get a basic understanding of how many BTUs your building is using. At the bottom it says contractor name, and you'll see it at the bottom of the application. You do not need to fill that in. If you have a contractor that you want to work with that is BPI accredited, and I'll talk about that later, you can put their name in. But once this application goes in and you're approved and they mail it back to you, they will send you a list of approved contractors, they being a community service group. We'll send you a list of approved contractors that can work under NYSERDA's program. So you've got your application and you want to know what's going to happen. Well, you've been cleared to go ahead and get your energy assessment, and the BPI certified contractor that's going to come in, and those are the only ones that can work in this program, and that BPI stands for Building Performance Institute. They're going to look at your entire house, and I've probably given a pretty good example here of an entire house. It's a little bit bigger than mine. But anyway, it's washers, dryers, furnace. It's going to look at airflow. It's going to look at windows, how well they're sealing. It's going to look at, spend a lot of time in the attic insulation. And it's also going to spend a lot of time in the basement area. I can tell you from a number of projects that I've worked on across our 10-county region, we see more issues in basements than we do attics. And it's also going to look at ventilation. The little red arrows going out, like bathroom ceiling fans, make sure they're outdoors, not underneath the attic, in the attic where insulation problems can arise. So I told you, it's the whole house approach. Basically, this is an overview of what I just said, and it's going to look at the entire shell and how it functions. And the other thing I put this back up here again is not to be redundant, but it's also going to check the compliance. Now we talk about energy efficiency, and there's a lot of promotion to work on energy efficiencies and programs out there. But this total house approach also works on human health and safety factors. How is the furnace functioning? Do we have a backdraft in it? What are the infiltration air rates going through the house? Do we have any propane gas or natural gas leaking back into the air systems? So that in itself is also another important factor. And we do identify quite oftentimes some health and safety issues that do occur in homes. And I just give you a couple examples of the BPI contractor testing the furnace, probably its efficiency, and make sure the stack temperature and everything's functioning properly. And also an example of a propane or a natural gas hot water heater. Again, looking in the basements and looking in the attics for insulation levels. And then they'll also look at the age of appliances and lighting. And the final thing that you're going to see, and I put this picture in here because it's also kind of interesting, but I don't want you to get nervous that all of a sudden when this guy opens up the front door and puts this big thing in place with a big fan and turns it on, to freak you out a little bit. It's called the blower door test. And basically what they do is they turn that to the outside, turn on the blower door, the fan, and they'll start measuring the airflow between the house and particular rooms. And sometimes while this is running on, they'll take an infrared camera as well and trace along the window joints, the floor joints, the ceiling joints, just to see if there's any air leaks in there as well. And also like recessed lighting, stuff like that. So the blower doors creating the airflow through the house, and then they can start to measure the different areas where leaks can be improved. So you've completed your assessment. What that BPI contractor is going to provide you with is called a treat report. It's your home assessment. And as you can see here, this gentleman or family had a 2,700 square foot, 2,000 square foot, heated above space 1,200, and year it was built was identified at 1900. And in this treat report, all the recommendations or the things that he found in your house and the recommendations for improvement will be listed with what correction measures should be taken, and then there will be associated cost with them. And then at the end of the report, I'm not showing you the whole report, but at the end of this report, you can see this particular project identified $5,800 worth of total cost to upgrade the house from this energy assessment. It gave you the energy savings. It also gave you the total energy savings in BTUs, which probably doesn't mean a lot to many of us. But it also gave you the simple annual payback in terms of years and the saving investment to ratio of 4.6. So you've decided, okay, I've got a project that I can pay back in 5 years, and you want to enroll in the program and have the BPI certified contractor continue to perform the work. And you want to finance it. You basically have two options. One's called the on-bill recovery, and the other one is the unsecured loan. So the $15,000 to $3,000. If your payback in terms of the program is 15 years or less, you can enroll up to $25,000 worth of work if it needs to be done to your home. If it's not, you can do $13,000, and the $1,500 is the minimum for the 13, and $3,000 is the minimum for the 25 level. So the on-bill financing loan rate is 2.99%. There will be a $150 processing fee only after you've been approved and you've decided to continue in the program. Go back one slide, please. So your annual loan payment is calculated not to exceed the anticipated amount of the money you saved in your energy cost. In simple terms, they've taken that 5 years, so they've taken 5 times 12, and they've given you your monthly calculation that will be put on your utility bill. And when I say this, people say, wow, I'm getting a new furnace or I'm doing this insulation, what's it got to do with my utility company? Well, the on-bill financing, all utility companies have to participate, the major ones, not the municipalities. So the homeowner in this case has done the work, has done the energy upgrades, and it's time to do the on-bill financing and make the payment. The calculation here is that the homeowner makes no more monthly expense than they currently are now, but they have a healthier, safer, and more energy efficient home. And the last thing I'll say about it is, the nice thing about this program as well is if you decide to move and sell your home, this debt or that loan that you have to pay stays with the house because the new homeowners will inherit the work that you've already done. As I said, you can do the 13 up to 25 if it's 15 years payback. And this is the unsecured loan. The interest rate is 3.99% if you decide you would like to mail NYSERDA a monthly check, or it's 3.49% if you decide that you'd like to have NYSERDA take the money out of your account. Well, in this case, it'll be Energy Finance Solutions, who works for NYSERDA. You can select the length of your term, but it cannot exceed the life's measure. So in the last case, it was like 4.8, so he'd be they'd be a 5-year. And then in the bottom here, some people say, well, why do I want to get into this program? Well, because you've enrolled and gone through the program, you will qualify for what they call a HEMI, a high energy measure incentives, or an assisted subsidy. So going back to the loan approval, depending on whatever you want to go in, the minimum FICO score is 640 or higher. Your debt to income ratio, if you're 640, has to be 50%. If you are above 640 or 680 and higher, your debt-to-income ratio can be 70. No bankruptcies, foreclosures, or repossessions in the past 7 years. And the outstanding collections judgments cannot exceed $2,500. Okay, my FICO score doesn't qualify me. What's my next step? If your FICO score is below 640 and you still have no bankruptcies, foreclosures, repossessions, outstanding judgments, all that, if you've been current on your mortgage for the past 12 months and not more than 60 days past due during the last 24 months, that will qualify you, or your current and energy bills for 2 consecutive months during each of the past 2 years and not more than 60 days due over the 24 months, you will qualify also into these programs. They really want people to get involved. I would encourage people to know your credit scores, pay attention to it, just don't go to the ads that you see on TV. This is a good credit report company, it's free. They will give you your 3 major scores, or you can order it by phone or email, and you can see me after too, and I can give you this information again. I've done it, it's pretty cool. I've talked about the application fee for the approved loans. This fee may be paid by check, or it may also be included in your loan as well, as long as you stay under the $25,000. You heard me talk about the assisted. The assisted project, and it's still the same applications, and there's one more application on your financing. But basically what the assisted program does is it allows you to do $10,000 worth of work on your home, and you will receive a 50% match not to exceed $5,000. And it's a great program for those that qualify. You heard me talk about empowering the income levels. If you're in there, this work will be done free. It will not be quite as in-depth as the Green Jobs, Green New York Home Performance program, but it will be good. And they'll look at, you know, the air sealants and stuff like that. But they replace a lot of lighting, a lot of insulation, and a lot of appliances. So you heard me talk about the HEMI a couple slides back. Basically, you're going to be eligible to receive 10% of the cost of the efficiency measures, up to $3,000. And in some cases, some of the utilities across the state run incentives. You cannot mix and match. If you're going to go with the utilities incentives, you take them, or you can do the NYSERDA's HEMI incentive. And here's a couple examples. I don't know if you can see it really well, but in the top you can see a natural gas furnace. If it meets the criteria described in the requirements, you can receive 10% of those costs to get that measured. Doors are in there, appliances are in there as well, and you can finance them. And some people that are talking about switching to biomass and pellet stoves, these also, you will not get the 10% incentive, but you can finance them through. There's a big push to get the oil furnaces off, and there's, I think Tupper Lake's starting to work on bringing in biomass too. But there are, you can finance the pellets system through the program. And then the last incentive is called the solar thermal incentive. And this is for existing houses and new construction as well, but it's the installation of new systems where they will rate the system that you're going to install in your home. It's $1.50 per annual kilowatt hour that you're displacing. Basically, you're saving, putting into the solar thermal, and you may receive up to $4,000 maximum for this program. I don't know a lot about it, but it's out there. Again, the installers will be NYSERDA approved. And I actually have one gentleman in the town of Waddington that's getting ready to switch his home into the solar thermal. Basically, this is an overview of what I just gave a presentation on. It's get your application in, get it approved, get it completed, work a scope with the contractor, or financing, set up your scope of work with your contractor, get the measurements done. And the other thing I say on this, because I didn't talk about this earlier, is this test out homeowner sign, certificate of completion. The test out part is, after the contractor has performed all the work and done the upgrade, he has to run the blower door test again, and he has to submit those numbers to his review to prove that the measures that he's done actually are accurate. And then I will close. You get your HEMIs 4 to 6 weeks later, your rebate check that will be given to you for doing the incentive. And I want to close by saying 2 things. The homeowner, the beauty of this program is, and I stress this, homeowners have to write out no check to anybody. NYSERDA will pay the contractors for doing the energy assessment. NYSERDA will pay the contractors for doing the energy upgrades. And then you're to say, okay, who's the watchdog that's going to make sure my contractor is doing the work properly? Honeywell is responsible for overseeing the Green Jobs in New York review, and 25% of the work that's been done in the, across the state will be inspected by Honeywell. So you can bet that the contractors sooner or later are going to get called on the carpet, and if they want to stay in the program, they have to be able to verify their work. What are the benefits? Well, all the work is done by BPI contractors that I've talked about. They've gone through the program, they've gone through the testing, they've been certified and they're licensed. So it's about health and safety, comfort, the durability, and improving the value of housing, not to mention the environmental benefits. And then it's kind of funny, once customers get into it, it's like, wow, not only do I save you money, but my house is so much more comfortable to live in. And my bills are less. So I want to thank you, and if you have any questions, by all means, I have stuff set up in the back, and you can come talk about any of the issues that you may have. And I would encourage you, I'm giving you my cell phone number, so please be respectful. Make it through this work in your application in that process. But again, I really want to thank you all. It's a great program. I would encourage you to get out there with the rest of your residents, get in the program.